everyone. My name is Robin and I'm going to talk to you about FIASP or faster insulin aspart. The objectives of the presentation is to describe the role of insulin in pediatric diabetes management. I'll be explaining the characteristics of FIASP or the new formulation of insulin aspart. We will discuss the pharmacokinetics of FIASP. We'll analyze current literature that shows the efficacy and safety of FIASP, and we'll summarize the risks and benefits and its place in pediatric diabetes management. Diabetes management in pediatric population is especially difficult. It is reported that approximately 75% of children and young people with type 1 diabetes do not meet their ADA recommended A1C goal of less than 7.5%. This is probably because the insulin therapy in childhood and youth is complicated by continuous changes occurring with respect to their weight, body composition, insulin sensitivity, as well as variable physical activity patterns and eating behavior. Now currently, intensified insulin therapy is the recommended treatment regimen to achieve glycemic targets in children, and rapid-acting insulin is an important tool to be able to closely match the varying postprandial insulin needs during the often irregular daily life of children. Rapid-acting insulins on the market currently include insulin lispro, insulin aspart, and insulin glulisine, and they represent a major improvement in pharmacokinetic properties compared with regular insulin. However, the absorption of these current rapid-acting insulin is still not fast enough to achieve sufficient postprandial glucose control. Moreover, delayed elimination of the current rapid-acting insulins relative to the need for post-meal and glucose reduction increases the risk of late hypoglycemia. Children and parents usually compensate this delayed elimination and risk of hypoglycemia by introducing snacks. So what is FIASP? FIASP is a new formulation of insulin aspart. Although it is called as faster insulin aspart. This includes an additional excipient of L-arginine and niacinamide, which provides a stable formulation with faster initial absorption after subcutaneous administration. In adults, FIASP provides faster onset, greater earlier exposure, and action versus regular insulin aspart. FIASP also shows approximately 50% greater earlier glucose lowering effect within the first 30 minutes of administration. The pharmacokinetics of FIASP. FIASP is faster acting, so the onset of action is 16.1 minutes in type 1 diabetes patients, which is approximately 5 minutes earlier than the conventional aspart, and it's 22.4 minutes in type 2 diabetes patients. The peak effect is 1.5 to 2.5 hours, which is 10 minutes earlier than the conventional insulin aspart. And the duration of action is 5 to 7 hours, which is dose dependent, and offset of glucose lowering effect was earlier compared to conventional insulin. So that addresses the delayed elimination problem with the currently available faster insulins. Studies show that FIASP demonstrated non-inferiority with respect to A1C reductions when compared to Novolog, even when administered during mealtime or post-meal. FIASP also was non-inferior when added to basal degludec in A1C reductions when dosed with multiple dosing options. In adults with type 2 diabetes, FIASP demonstrated superiority in A1C reductions when compared with basal insulin alone. Safety profile of FIASP was very similar to the currently available insulin aspart. Adverse reactions observed with FIASP included hypoglycemia, allergic reactions, hypersensitivity, and injection site reactions, lipodystrophy, and weight gain. It was also noted that pediatric patients with type 1 diabetes and treated with mealtime and post-meal FIASP reported a higher rate of blood glucose confirmed hypoglycemic episodes when compared with Novolog. This imbalance was usually noticed during the nocturnal period, so it was recommended to monitor blood glucose levels closely in pediatric patients. And an important thing to consider is FIASP and Novolog products are not interchangeable. So where does FIASP fit in and who is it useful for? FIASP offers flexible dosing options at first bite or at the start of a meal or during a meal within 20 minutes after starting a meal. This option is really important in pediatric patients where the meal times are highly irregular. In a pilot study, it was also noted that FIASP showed comparable outcomes in a closed-loop continuous glucose monitoring system like MiniMed 670G. FIASP is also available as a pen, a 10 ml vial, and also a pen fill cartridge. The storage and stability conditions of FIASP is similar to Novolog, where once opened, it can be stored at room temperature for 28 days. So to summarize, FIASP is a faster acting insulin aspart where it offers flexible dosing options to be able to give at the beginning of a meal or even up to 20 minutes after mealtime, which is a really helpful option for pediatric patients. Now, FIASP shows comparable efficacy to the regular insulin aspart with both the dosing regimens or options, and it has a similar side effect profile, but it has to be noted that pediatric patients with type 1 diabetes we don't have sufficient data, and the evidence of increased nocturnal hypoglycemia episodes have also been reported. So this means that more monitoring is needed when FIASP is administered in pediatric patients, but it is definitely a worthy option. Thank you for listening, and if you have any questions, my email is there at the bottom of the screen. Here are the references that I used in the presentation.